So now,
Okay.
when you reflect back on the theme song itself and its place in history in wrestling theme songs, how do you look back on it?
Honestly, I didn't know that it meant so much to so many people. I, you know, I was contacted, and well, honestly, until you contacted me, Jonathan, I didn't realize there was a fan base for it. I thought, well, I just did this thing, and they played it a few times on TV, and that was it. But wrestling fans are really nostalgic. And
We are.
I mean, all the stuff I did, I constantly am getting, on Facebook or whatever, contacted by people, and just they're like, "Oh my God, man, I love that." If they knew that I did it, of course, that's part of the problem, isn't it, Howard?
Yeah.
Well, that's where I'm thinking, guys. The wrestling theme song band is actually an amazing idea, and I can tell you,
and
you
it's
know what you
your
do?
idea. So
you're gonna find when there's wrestling pay-per-views and other events, and you're gonna host it at a venue the night before, and everyone's gonna come out to that, guys.
Well, that's a great idea.
That's why I'm the chosen lawyer, bro.
Yes, you are the chosen one. I mean,
I'm telling you, man, they would love that stuff, and they love beer and they love music.
That's right. Well, what we have to do is figure out how the heck we'd ever get the old Mouth of the South involved with that without him getting into trouble, because that's kind of the final thing for the fans. Is Jimmy was always involved in some part of it. So it was like, that would be the thing. It's funny, I guess I thought American Males got kind of eclipsed by Buff Daddy. I always thought in my mind that Buff Daddy was the song that Mark, that was kind of like, okay, now it was just Mark. It wasn't the group, wasn't him and Scotty. And it was like, you know what I mean? So I actually kind of forgot about American Males for quite a while, because if you ever asked me about, about Marc Bagwell, I'd say, oh, well, Buff Daddy. That would be the song that would come to mind immediately. So,
well, I can tell you guys that I am shocked and bewildered, because I thought the exact same thing. And as Mark and I became friends, and he came on my Chosen Life podcast, and then we developed the series, The Real Marc Bagwell, I assumed that he was all about Buff Daddy. If I were him with that look and that pose and everything else, my ringtone, my doorbell, my alarm clock, everything would play Buff Daddy 24/7. That's all I would be doing. I honk my horn in my car, play Buff Daddy. But every time we talk about it, he likes it. Don't get me wrong, but he always goes back to American Males. When he has to sing at a convention, if there's a clip of him on there when they were talking about it, the song comes on. That's the one he's most nostalgic about. He loves with the video, because it's all about the video with Scotty Riggs. So there's two reasons why. Number one is the video with Scotty Riggs and his kinship with Scotty Riggs. And that's a song that I think really developed him as a wrestler and brought him out to the mainstream before he blew up with the NWO and Buff Daddy. So I think he's very fond of it that way. And there's something about the song that just really captured him. The second part, if I had to guess based on what he has said, because when the whole Buff Daddy song came out and the whole Buff Daddy gimmick came out, shortly after he broke his neck. So I think there's a subconscious part of him, because he said, like, I had this winning lottery ticket and here I am with a broken neck all of a sudden. I think that's where the disconnect comes up, because if Buff Daddy took off without him breaking his neck, I think also Buff Daddy explodes to new levels. You got a heavyweight champion right there. So I think he partially associates it with that, and I think that's a problem. But it kind of goes hand in hand with him.
That could be a very big mental thing. I didn't know Mark broke his neck.
Yeah, like he should never have wrestled again. There was a lot of talk that he may never even walk again. Like, it was very serious. He had a bad wrestling injury there, and he came back from it. But it's one of those things when you look back on it, he came back strong. But when you have something that serious where you have to go through it, you're never quite the same. So if you have to trace back for Mark and looking at his career and body of work, and you're saying kind of what happened and where was it? Well, breaking your neck and having to go through that, I would say that was the biggest thing, because if he didn't have that, his life and his career is probably a lot different. But kudos to him that he made it back to walking, made it back to wrestling, still had a productive wrestling career. So it's tough. Like, we talk about all the time how many wrestlers we lost at very young ages. Like those guys dropped like flies in their early 50s.
Yep.
Because, people don't understand, even now we had a Raw taping here in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Well, there's 2 events going on Saturday, 2 events going on Sunday in different cities. Then you got the Raw event. These guys are like wrestling and traveling over 300 days a year. It's like a traveling circus, basically. They're not seeing their families. And, you're wrestling in one night and the next night you're in another city already. When did you sleep exactly? When did you make it to the gym? Like they're just constantly on the go. It's really hard on the body. How do you eat properly? How do you train?
Right.
And that's a huge thing. And like for lifer like Mark, on top of it, to deal with injuries, a lot never recover from it. And then you got to take painkillers because you're feeling your knees, you're feeling your back. And then that can become a very common addiction for a lot of people when they're athletes. And, not just wrestling, but especially wrestling because of all the bumps and grinds it take.
Oh yeah.
I could see that wrestlers are similar to musicians in that it's not what you do, it's what you are. And it's in your soul. And there's no, you can't just walk away. That's why it's so hard for a lot of athletes to walk away. The camaraderie, it goes deep.
We just did a taping for my podcast actually yesterday, and we talked about in football. So you got a guy named Tom Brady,
Exactly.
probably the greatest football player of all time. And the talk of it is that him and his wife are not having the greatest moments right now because he said he was going to retire. He changed his mind. She's apparently not happy with it. That's what the media is saying. But on the same token of it, like it's hard because you lived your life. You gave everything to the sport from high school, college. People don't get from the young years, to become a professional, anything, band, athlete, you got to grind in those young teen years and your young adult years. And then when especially if you're in your prime, how do you walk away from that? If you have any kind of competitive flow, that's really difficult. So even in Tom Brady's world, it's not so easy to walk away.
Right.
No. Well, there's a familiarity, like he said. He said when it got to the actual beginning of the season this year, he said, with all the stuff that's been going on and all the things that people are pulling on him to do, look at that ridiculous deal he's got sitting at Fox as soon as he finished. But he said, I think it was last week I was reading it. He said, once the football season kicks back in, he goes, well, now everything's structured. Now I know what it's going to be. This is the routine from now to February. You know what I mean? It's just, this is going to be the routine. But like he said, he goes, I've never been there for Christmases with the family. I'm never there for Thanksgiving. I'm never there for the important birthdays. And he says, when you're talking about your family, that stuff starts to take its toll. And I have absolutely not a scrap of any insider information, but my feeling is he's probably made an agreement with his wife to finish out this year, and then that's it. She's worried about him getting hurt. That's very understandable.
Absolutely. But it's funny, on the other token, Howard, how many people, retire from any kind of occupation. And I see this because I'm a real estate lawyer and they've been married for 20 years, 30 years. They have their lives, they have their routines. As soon as they retire and they spend any kind of time together, they split up. It's the funniest thing. It's just one of those things like, hey, I'm starting to spend time with you. I actually don't like you very much.
Well,
I think I gotta go back to work or this is not gonna happen.
We all learned that from COVID. Let's face it, as soon as COVID hit, the good marriages got incredibly stronger. And the bad marriages, boy, it was not hard to figure out this isn't going to work.
COVID babies, COVID divorces, A and B. It was one of the two. Absolutely. Yeah. No, right. You're not far off from there.
Yeah. And it's a tough thing too. You look at, musically, and yeah, there's still, my thing that I keep, I always say, I'm not dead yet. It's like, I'm in good shape. I still can play. I can sing. I can do, but where do I work?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Who's going to come and pay like they might have 30 years ago to come and see me play. It's not going to happen, you know? And so I say to people, well, I'm semi-retired, you know, because you can't ever retire from music, right, Todd? I mean, you can't, there's no such
Not really.
thing. No.
My wife was a police officer. She's still a police officer in her heart.
Oh, sure.
She can't shake that. You know, we still watch true crime, you know, shows and stuff, and she's like, his tactics are wrong. He should have done this, you know.
That's right. They'd never do this.
Yeah.
That sergeant's full of shit.
Yeah.
No, and that's one of the things I was gonna say. Both of you in your stages of life, you're both active in music. You're not giving it up anytime soon either.
Oh no. Hey, there's a fabulous progressive rock band that Todd and I worked in for a long time together called Cryptic Vision. We did 3 albums. And I'm telling you, you know, if ever there was a band that just couldn't catch a break, didn't have the right people pushing the band into places where it should have been. I mean, I'm sure Todd will agree with me. I mean, there's moments in that band that were just phenomenal. I mean, it's an amazing band, and unfortunately, the last thing we tried to do together was at a prog festival that was in Sarasota, Florida. And the usual garbage, you know, it's hard enough for progressive rock bands because of the intricacies of all the stuff that's going on in the music. Something that is absolutely key and essential is proper sound checking and line checking and everything. You need to make sure everything's working.
That was such a nightmare.
And that's what the problem was. We didn't get a chance to check anything. And in my case, I started getting super frustrated because one of the keyboards that they had got for me, I couldn't get the darn thing to work. It just wouldn't work right. And so you got to figure what few minutes they gave us, we're scrambling around trying to do all this thing. And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, now the lights are going down, go out and play. Well, you can't do that. You know, my sons were at that show. They were sitting back by the board. They're going, Dad, we couldn't hear a thing. Nothing. We couldn't hear the vocals. It was just a din of bass and some other stuff. And it was a complete waste of time. But the amount of prep that we put into that was huge.
Those CDs that we put out, a mixture of Rush, Genesis, Kansas, Pink Floyd, maybe, Dream Theater, little elements of each. That was, man, we were very proud.
That band could have toured with any of those prog rock bands, and the audiences would have loved it. It was very challenging for us. And certainly if you want to hear Todd really, really sing to the top of his ability, check out the Cryptic Vision records, because there's some stuff there that, I mean, I've never heard Todd sing anywhere else as well as that, you know.
How many years have you guys worked together now, would you figure?
How long we known each other?
30 years.
30 years. Well, at least 30. Yeah, because we're into 2022 now.
Yeah.
And I set foot in Florida in 1988. So
amazing.
It would have been in there somewhere.
Howard, how many wrestling theme songs would you figure that the two of you worked on together?
Todd and I?
Yes, Todd and you. We talked about you and Jimmy. And how many songs you guys put together? How many would you figure that Todd was part with you?
Boy, you know, it is a tough one because the other stuff that we did, like I say, the monster trucks and some of the other things that we were doing. I mean, Todd and I, we would work together all the time. I mean, but it wasn't necessarily just on wrestling stuff. I mean, I don't know. I mean, certainly at least 20. I mean, I don't know if the number's higher than that. I think all told, because there was, you know, you got to figure there's things we did that never saw the light of day.
Right. That's true.
You know,
and I was going to say, because it's done so quickly also, I'm sure you have elements that because you're processing so many in so many days that unless we actually played it for Todd, you wouldn't remember that he was on that song probably.
Exactly.
Right.
There's songs that pull up on there that I barely remember. I mean, really, you know, unless there was a special attachment, you know,
like American Males.
Some of that was dependent on the wrestler.
Mhm.
You know, some of the wrestlers were absolutely a hoot to work with. And some of them were, they just kind of wanted to get it done and get out, you know? So
Now, I know you met some of them, Howard. Todd, did you ever meet any of the wrestlers that you sang for?
No, I never did.
You're like a secret agent.
he
I
is a
know.
Yeah, what you do for a living, you can't really discuss it. And then
No.
for your albums,
Yeah.
you don't get a credit and you're kind of in and out. You're like a spy when it comes to all aspects of life, my friend.
That's right. It's
Well,
the
Now-
secret life of Todd Plant.
I sure would like to be more involved and make appearances with some of these wrestlers, and
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Well, the moment
think-
you, I mean, for instance, if there was a situation where Mark was someplace doing something and, you know, we had the pitch in the back of our heads, I mean, you could hear just what he just did here on the podcast. I mean, can you imagine what the fans would do if all of a sudden Todd started singing, standing beside Mark? I mean, they'd be like, that's the guy that sang American Males.
Boys on men on November 25th to the 27th of 2022, which is, by the way, my birthday weekend, in North Carolina. They are featuring WrestleCon. There is, I don't know, a gajillion wrestlers that are going to be there. Mark is scheduled to be there right now. Not sure if he will make it or not, but I'm pretty sure he will. But having you guys appear at a wrestling convention would be a great start for our new band, the wrestling theme song band. So
Yeah, you got to be careful because Hulk's band was the Wrestling Boot Band.
yeah,
That's what it was called.
whatever.
what was Macho Man's rapping band? Do you remember that one? Ugh. Macho Man Randy Savage made an album of rap songs sung by him. It is.
Oh,
I love the Macho
It
Man.
had nothing. It had nothing to do with any of us.
I would distance myself as well from
I
that
would
product. I
disavow
don't blame
any
you.
knowledge.
Yeah.
Okay. Todd, have you ever heard it?
No.
Ooh,
I've never-
It is awful. It's just awful. I'm sorry, gents, but
But
it's
you
just
know what? There's something to be said about awful. There's a fine line between bad and fantastic, because a bad movie, you know, a bad movie is really good if you in the right frame of mind.
See, American
So-
Males theme song might be so cheesy that it's still good. I don't think you're
It's
gonna find
good. It's
Oh, yeah.
good either way. It's good.
but the Macho Man rapping, I don't think you're gonna find it the same way.
Hmm.
Now, something that is current and the most latest theme song that has come out, and it is wrestling like theme song, is my own theme song, the Chosen Lawyer theme song,
Yeah.
which
Yep.
we just launched it very recently, and it
I
had a
love it.
music video to it as well.
Oh, excellent.
So we have two professionals that are in the business that were not part of the production whatsoever, but got to hear it. I would love to hear your takes on what you thought of it, and would that pass on a wrestling theme song album? What do you think?
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's right
I
in
mean,
that
how could it
same
not? Yeah.
right. And our band has got to learn that to coming out.
Mhm.
You know, I'm ready to sing it.
Well, if you got
I need to learn that thing right away.
the chorus is the key part of theirs, so
Right.
I think you got the lyrics in front of you there, Todd.
I don't.
Oh, you didn't? It's right there with the American Males one. Let's see if he finds it. So when it got put together, a friend of mine, his brother's a producer in music,
Mhm.
and we got connected, and he put together the music. We talked about the lyrics, and then he found the lead singer for it. And the lead singer wrote a lot of the lyrics. And one of the things were, when he rhymed lawyer and destroyer, I said to myself, I found my guy.
Mhm.
Yes.
That's where I knew we were set. Everything else, to me, wrestling theme songs, it always comes down to the chorus. You need a really catchy
Right.
chorus that carries the whole song. True or false?
Oh,
True.
absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, no matter what it is, you have to think, you know, that you've got to give the listener, the fan, you know, you've got to give them something they can hang on to. You know what I mean? And you have to assume from the get-go that they may not be musical. You know what I mean? And so you can't complicate that. you know, and it's really hard sometimes for musicians, you know, in the studio to keep things really simple. The temptation to put something else on it, add another harmony, put another little part. Oh, I can put a little synth noise in behind this or something. That temptation is always there. If you can leave it simple and then the chorus is evident the first time you hear it, that used to be, I mean, that's what A&R guys used to tell me back in the day. It's like, I gotta hear the hook. I gotta hear the hook, the thing, if you're gonna do a hit record. If I listen to it for a minute and I don't hear it, goodbye, you know?
And your song has that.
Yes. Yes, definitely. Has the memorability, memorability, I guess. You hear it and you should be able to keep singing that chorus to yourself an hour later. Cause you know, that's, I don't know about you guys, but with me, it's almost an aggravation sometimes, whatever song you last listened to, and then you're away from music doing something, that's the song that stays in your head.
So I could tell you my two biggest contributions I felt were two things. Number one, I felt there was a lot of dead space as far as the music goes in it. There's an extended version as well, and that will get released at some point, which we tried different stuff, but there's a shorter, clean 2.5-minute version, fine. There's a little bit of dead space in music where I said, let's do some spoken word. I know he's singing it, but let's try some spoken a little bit. I think that's going to be fun. And that added a little bit of mix to it and transitioning wise. And then it was really flat at the end. And I said, I need a good ending. Like I know the guitar and it stops, but I said, there's something off of it. And I said, I know what it is. It's missing an evil laugh. Like every song needs to end with an evil laugh. That's all you need is an evil laugh. So he did 3 different versions. And I said, well, this is like the polite laugh. This is the obnoxious laugh. And there's the evil laugh. That's what we need. So we end off with an evil laugh. And that is the song. Like you think back, you remember the $1 Million Man theme song? Money, 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 money.
Yes, yes.
Everybody's got a price. Everybody's gonna pay. Because I'm the $1 Million Man. Always gets his way. But that man has one of the best laughs I've ever heard in all of society. Like he is an embodiment of the $1 Million Man. Like he truly, everybody's got a price for him. There's no question. He looks the part, talks the part, but it's that laugh. And his song, the whole song is based around his evil laugh. And it's fantastic.
That's great. Yeah. Yeah.
And it kind of thought about the Thriller theme song and how, you know, Vincent Price at the end with the evil laugh. And that's, I think, where it set it off. So anyways, it's nice to know that people in the profession and specifically done wrestling theme songs have appreciated. So that's why I wanted to share with you. And I appreciate the feedback. And I think we've come up with some good ideas today. First of all, we've created history today, brought the band back together, so to speak.
Right.
Got to hear you both sing, got to reminisce on American Males, find out the history, get to see Todd in the flesh. And he sang it like he did 30 years ago. He did not miss a beat.
Nope, he didn't.
And as well, I think we planted some really good seeds so that perhaps you have a next project, and I'd be happy to assist with it and be a part of your wrestling theme song band, because I think that's going to be awesome.
That'd be hilarious.
Yes, sir. That'd be fun.
We'll have to look at that.
Think about it. I know between the three of us, somebody, Howard, has Jimmy's number. So, and Jimmy is still waiting to hear from you if you haven't reached out to him yet, Howard.
Oh, I talked to Jimmy right away after I spoke.
Oh, you did? Okay, good. He's doing well?
He's doing very well. He sent me off on another wild goose chase or something that
oh God.
It has to actually to do with that Spotify thing.
Jimmy is convinced that you guys produce music, you should actually get paid for it. What a crazy guy, eh?
Can you believe that?
That's crazy talk.
Why would musicians get paid for their music? That's nuts.
Actually, that's the thing, because that's what when I talked to Jimmy, that's what came up, Todd, was I think after he'd spoken with Jonathan, was that, like you said, Spotify right now, it's 2.7 million downloads of the Wolfpack song.
Don't mess with the Wolfpack.
This is how much Jimmy and I get. And we created it.
If it makes you feel better, Todd and I are making the same amount.
Exactly. So no, but I mean, but the thing is, okay, so that's the reality of the business. This is why, the enthusiasm that Jimmy has, he's always trying to come up with some other angle that he can do something
That's right.
that he won't get cut off by the company, you know. And I'm sure right now, I mean, it's just, you know, the whole, yeah, I mean, his relationship with WWE, he needs to be careful.
He does, and I respect him for that. Now, I
Yep.
wish he could have been here, and you know, an explanation makes sense. And on the same token, Marc Bagwell wishes he could have been here. Buff could have been here,
Yep.
and I know he thanks you. I thank you in that you both, in the work you've done, you look back on it, you've contributed to a career. He does not have the same wrestling career, and his life is so much different if you don't create that music, because that music directly contributes to the character, which makes everything. So you helped create art, which created more art. So on behalf of Marcus, Buff Bagwell, thank you both for your contributions
You
to
are
his
more
life.
than one.
It's an honor.
Yep, absolutely.
Now, for the fans that are watching and would like to see you live or hear what you're about, let's start with Todd. Todd, what are you up to these days? And are you still on the road? What's the groove?
Well, I'm in 4 tribute bands playing all over Florida. And there's another project that, guess what, I can't talk about. But it's a real band. Or at least they have the real name. You'll know someday.
Okay.
It happens.
Are you
But,
taking over for the old Velvet Revolver?
No,
Oh,
but you're,
close.
if you go back about 20 more years, maybe 30 more years. Anyway,
Maybe,
so
yes.
hopefully it will come to fruition, but look for China Grove, the Doobie Brothers tribute, Supernatural, the Santana tribute,
We're wrapping up here.
37 special, not quite 38, and Brand New Day, which is a tribute to Sting and the Police.
One question I got to ask you, because they're my favorite band of all time. Have you ever done any Doors tribute work?
No, I have not.
If you want to brush up on some Light My Fire, let me know, because maybe I can hear your voice. I think Jim is embodied within you there somewhere, just to let you know.
Wow.
And Mr. Howard Helm.
I hadn't thought about Todd singing Jim Morrison.
Think about that now. Maybe that's for our next episode. Besides you learning the Chosen Lawyer theme song, maybe you can pick up some Break On Through or Light My Fire for us.
Hey, make sure you send me another copy of the Chosen Lawyer thing. I don't know why I had trouble finding it today. If you could send me another copy, I'd really appreciate it.
Absolutely. And I will let the fans know that on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, and every major player, you type in the Chosen Lawyer theme song. It is available on every streaming service. Download it today. Use it as your ringtone. Enjoy it. It's my gift to the world. And let's party down. Howard, Howard, for yourself, are you on the road at all? Can people hear your music?
Not right now. I'm pretty much just back doing things in the studio. So it's it was nice when I was recently back in Canada, because it gave me a chance to actually touch base with a few people, kind of find out where people have been and the rest of it. It's nice to see that I'm not forgotten. And so, it was, but yeah, pretty much just in the studio right now. Like I said, it's just, I'd be glad to do some live stuff, but right now it just doesn't seem to be, available. How's that?
Fair enough. But, make sure everybody has links so they can reach out to you both and say hello. And you're giving a lot of great energy to the wrestling community. And again, we made wrestling history today. For the first time ever on any kind of film format of any kind, we actually had 2 of the 4 members singing American Males Day. So, gentlemen, thank you again for making wrestling history.
You're welcome, John.
And you're always welcome back to the Real Marc Bagwell, a wrestling docu-series, and I'm sure we'll talk soon.
Excellent. Sounds good.
Excellent.
Take care, you guys. That was a lot of fun today.
Yeah,
thank you
man.
both.
That was great.
All righty. See you. Cheers.